30 minutes before my date, Mark canceled. That happens. What doesn't happen? Getting a screenshot instead. A message from someone in my family. I don't usually interfere, but Natalie gets emotionally unstable in relationships. Please be careful. I read it once, then again, then a third time. Because in that exact second, every man who had ever suddenly disappeared from my life started making terrifying sense. Adam, Chris, Ethan, Daniel. Men I liked. Men who liked me. Men who vanished for reasons I never understood. My name is Natalie. I'm 36 years old. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and 3 weeks ago, I discovered someone close to me may have been quietly destroying my relationships for years. The worst part? It wasn't a stranger. It was family. And what I uncovered next made me question my entire past. Mark wasn't random. That matters. We'd been talking for 6 weeks. Every day. Morning texts. Late-night calls. Voice notes. Inside jokes. The kind of consistency that makes you slowly lower your guard. At 36, that means something. Dinner reservation? 7:30 p.m. Small Italian place downtown. Warm lighting. Good pasta. Safe first date energy. I was dressed. Black heels. Green wrap dress. Perfume on. Bag in hand. Then my phone buzzed. Mark. I smiled. Expected. I'm outside. Instead. I think you should see this before tonight. Attached screenshot. And suddenly, my stomach dropped. It wasn't dramatic. That's what made it terrifying. No insults. No emotional meltdown. No obvious jealousy. Just calm concern. The message said, "Hi, Mark. I know this may seem inappropriate, but I'd feel guilty staying silent. Natalie can become emotionally unstable in relationships. She gets attached quickly, and people often get hurt. I just thought you deserved to know." I froze. Because crazy lies are easy to dismiss. Polite lies? People trust those. That's what made this dangerous. It sounded believable, professional, controlled, and staring at it. I felt something strange. Recognition. Like some part of me had experienced this before, without ever having proof. I called immediately. No answer. Again. Nothing. Third time, he picked up. Silence first. Then, "Natalie." That tone told me enough. I asked, "Did this make you cancel?" Pause. Then, I didn't know what to think. That hurt. But honestly, fair. Then I asked, "Who sent it?" Long silence. Then, "Someone in your family." My chest tightened, because suddenly, this wasn't dating drama anymore. This was betrayal. After we hung up, I just sat there, still dressed, still holding my keys, because memories started crashing into me. Adam. 3 dates. Gone. Chris. Weeks of chemistry. Then silence. Ethan. Amazing conversations. Then distance overnight. Daniel. Strong start. Then nothing. For years. I blame myself. Too emotional. Too intense. Too available. Too much. Women become experts at self-blame. But this felt different. Because bad luck doesn't repeat this cleanly. Patterns do. That night I drove to my parents' house. Same quiet neighborhood. Same porch light. Same heavy feeling in my chest. Dad opened the door, immediately concerned. Mom was in the kitchen, tea in hand. I showed them the screenshot. Dad looked genuinely confused. Mom didn't. That mattered. She read it, set down my phone, and said, "Maybe whoever sent it meant well." I stared at her. Meant well? Calling me unstable to a stranger? Then she said, "Natalie, don't overreact." That sentence made my stomach drop, because innocent people usually ask, "Who sent this?" Not, "Don't overreact." I got home around 11. Couldn't sleep. Just replayed everything. Then Mark texted, "I'm sorry." Then another message. "It was your sister. Emily." I stared at the name. Older sister. Successful. Calm. Polished. The kind of woman people trust instantly. If Emily said she was concerned, most people would believe her. And the sickest part? A small part of me wasn't shocked. Because years ago, Emily once saved me from the wrong man. Jason. At least, that's what everyone said. The next morning, Denise called. Family friend. Known me forever. Too involved in everyone's business. Her tone felt strange. Careful. Too careful. She casually asked, "How are you holding up?" Holding up? Interesting wording. I pushed. She hesitated, then said, "Your sister only wants what's best for you." Only? That word bothered me, because it sounded like this wasn't new. Then she said something worse. After Jason, things got complicated. My blood went cold, because suddenly, Jason wasn't history anymore. He was part of this. I started digging. Texts, emails, old chats, anything. Then I found something. Years old. From Ethan. At the time I ignored it. Now, terrifying. It said, "I don't think I'm the right person for your situation." Situation? What situation? I never gave him one. No family drama, no chaos, nothing. So where did that story come from? That one message changed everything, because now this wasn't suspicion, it was evidence. Then one name came back. Jason, the man I once thought I'd marry, at 29. I loved him, or thought I did. Weekend trips, future plans, house conversations, ring conversations. Then one night, everything collapsed. Family intervention, warnings, accusations. Emily standing in the center of all of it. Calm, confident, certain. At the time, I believed she saved me. Now, I wasn't sure what to believe. That night, I didn't sleep, just stared at the ceiling, replaying faces, names, disappearances, patterns, and one terrifying question kept repeating. What if nothing was ever wrong with me? What if someone close to me had been quietly rewriting my love life, one relationship at a time? Because if that's true, Mark wasn't the beginning. He was just the first honest man who showed me proof. Jason was the man I thought I'd marry. That matters, because this wasn't some casual ex. This was serious. At 29, I was sure. Weekend trips, shared playlists, inside jokes, conversations about neighborhoods we liked. The kind of relationship where future stopped sounding imaginary. Jason was charismatic, funny, confident. The kind of man who made rooms brighter. Or maybe that's just how I remember him, because heartbreak edits memories. Then one night, everything changed. And according to my family, Emily had saved me. At the time, I believed that. Now, I wasn't so sure. I remember that night perfectly. I walked into my parents' living room and immediately knew something was wrong. Everyone was there. Mom, Dad, Emily, even Denise. That kind of silence. That kind of setup. Jason had apparently been exposed. Accusations everywhere. Financial lies. Flirting. Another woman. Manipulation. Nobody asked me questions. Nobody started gently. They presented conclusions. And Emily stood in the center of it all. Calm. Confident. Certain. Like she had already solved the case. I hated that. But I believed her. That thought messed with me. Because after Mark's screenshot, everything felt unstable. What if Jason really was dangerous? What if Emily genuinely protected me once? That changes things. Because if someone saves you from real harm, trust gets complicated. And maybe that's why I ignored certain warning signs for years. Because if someone is right once, you stop questioning them. That terrified me. Because maybe this story wasn't simple betrayal. Maybe it started with love, and slowly became something darker. The next morning, I did something I'd never done. I messaged Adam. Yes, that Adam. 3 dates. Then vanished. Simple question. Did someone in my family ever contact you? I expected silence. Instead, immediate reply. Wait, you didn't know? I actually stopped breathing, because that sentence changes everything. Then, yes. One word. One devastating word. He said someone contacted him, warned him, said dating me would be emotionally complicated. Years ago. Years. This wasn't new. Then Chris. Same question. Same horror. Yes. Then Ethan. Yes. Daniel. Yes. Different timing. Same pattern. Polite concern. Emotional warnings. Subtle red flags. Nothing dramatic. That's what made it effective. Nobody threatened them. Nobody screamed. Just enough doubt to make reasonable men hesitate. And suddenly, the pattern became undeniable. This wasn't insecurity. This wasn't paranoia. This was evidence. My hands were shaking holding my phone. Because how many more? That evening, I confronted Emily. Directly. No build-up. No games. Have you been contacting men I date? Immediate denial. Too immediate. Too polished. That bothered me. Then came the classic line. Natalie, you're overthinking this. I hate that sentence. Because it's what people say when truth gets uncomfortable. I pushed harder. Then her expression changed. Just slightly. Enough. Tiny hesitation. Eye contact broke. And suddenly, I knew something. She was lying. I just didn't know how much. Mark called that night. Unexpected. Awkward. But honest. Then he said something I couldn't stop thinking about. This didn't feel emotional. I asked what he meant. He said, it felt practiced. That word hit hard. Practiced. Not jealous. Not impulsive. Practiced. Like someone had done this before. Multiple times. That made this darker. Because repeated sabotage isn't emotional. It's habitual. And habit means belief. Whoever did this thought they were justified. That scared me more than anger. I kept digging. Then found something worse. Old storage box. Jason-era memories. Photos. Cards. Receipts. And one printed email. I'd forgotten it existed. One sentence was highlighted. I appreciate the warning. I froze. Warning. What warning? Jason never explained that at the time. Now? My chest tightened. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about recent men. Someone had interfered even back then. Long before Mark. Long before proof. And that changed everything. Denise called again, trying to sound casual. Failed. During the conversation, she said, I thought this was handled after Jason. I went completely still. Handled? Handled what? Silence. Then instant backtracking. Too late. That sentence mattered because it confirmed something terrifying. This wasn't one emotional mistake. This had history, discussion, normalization, which is somehow worse because betrayal is horrible. But normalized betrayal? That's chilling. That night, I sat alone in my kitchen, no TV, no music, just silence, and one thought kept repeating. Guessing wasn't enough anymore. I needed proof. Real proof. Because accusations without evidence become family drama. Evidence becomes truth. So I made a decision. No more emotional confrontations, no more asking. I would test it. Carefully. Quietly. And if my theory was right, I'd finally know exactly who had been rewriting my love life. I needed proof. Not suspicion. Not emotional arguments. Proof. So I made a plan. A fake man. Fake name. Fake dating story. Believable enough to seem real. And one important rule. Only one person would hear about him. If that person got warned, I'd have my answer. I mentioned him casually. Coffee with Emily. Nothing dramatic. Just, I've started seeing someone. She immediately leaned in. Questions, name, job, how we met. Then, what's his Instagram? That mattered. Because Emily always liked checking people out. I laughed, gave her the fake account. All planned, all fake. Then I went quiet and waited. Day 1, nothing. Day 2, still nothing. I started doubting myself. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe this whole thing was grief and paranoia. Then day 3, my fake account received a message, and my stomach dropped. Same opening. Exactly the same. I don't usually interfere. Same tone, same polished concern, same emotional warning. I stared at it, then laughed. Not because it was funny, because sometimes betrayal becomes so obvious. It turned surreal. Then I looked at the sender, and my chest tightened. Emily. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I started collecting. Mark's screenshot, Adam's messages, Chris, Ethan, Daniel, old emails, dates, patterns, screenshots everywhere. By midnight, my dining table looked like an investigation board, and suddenly, this stopped feeling emotional. It felt systematic. I messaged 2 more old exes. Short question. Simple. Did someone in my family ever contact you? Both replied, yes. One said, I thought they were trying to help. That line crushed me, because that's exactly why this worked. The lie wore kindness, and kindness gets trusted. Denise called again. Bad timing for her. I pushed harder. Then she slipped. Emily was only trying to protect you. Was, not is. That wording mattered, because it confirmed something. Denise knew. Maybe not everything, but enough. And silence like that is its own betrayal. That weekend, my cousin's engagement party. Perfect timing. Everyone would be there. Parents, Emily, Denise, extended family. And suddenly, I knew exactly what I was going to do, because private lies survive, public truth doesn't. Mark texted unexpectedly. One question. Simple. Brutal. Saving you once doesn't mean controlling your future, right? I stared at that message, because that was the entire story. Jason changed something. Emily crossed a boundary, then never stepped back. And suddenly, I understood exactly what this really was. Control. I got dressed for the party, calm, no tears, no panic, just certainty. Folder in my bag, screenshots ready, years of confusion, years of self-blame, all leading here, because for the first time, I wasn't walking into family drama. I was walking in with evidence. The engagement party was loud, beautiful, champagne, music, fake smiles, family everywhere. Emily looked perfect, calm, elegant, untouchable, like someone with nothing to hide. That almost made me angry. Almost. Instead, I smiled. I hugged relatives, made small talk, took photos, laughed when expected. Emily watched me a few times, probably checking for damage, probably expecting tears, a confrontation, drama. She got none of that, because calm scares guilty people more. And I was very calm. The party already had a slideshow running. Childhood photos, engagement pictures, cute family memories. Perfect. Halfway through, I smiled and said, I actually want to add something. Nobody thought twice. My cousin handed me the remote. I connected my phone, opened one folder, and the room went quiet. Mark's message appeared first. Big screen. Clear. Impossible to ignore. Natalie is emotionally unstable. Silence. Immediate silence. I heard someone whisper, "What is this?" Then I showed the second screenshot, then the third, then another. Different years, different men, same tone, same warnings. And suddenly, everyone understood. The energy shifted instantly. Dad looked stunned. Mom went pale. Denise looked sick. People stopped pretending. No music mattered anymore. No drinks, no conversation, just silence. The kind that only truth creates. And Emily? Still quiet. Too quiet. Then I opened the timeline. Names, dates, messages, Years of sabotage, one after another. No dramatic speech, no screaming, just facts. That's what made it devastating. Facts don't need performance. I finally said, I spent years believing something was wrong with me. Nobody moved. Emily stood up immediately, face pale, voice sharp. This is insane. Then, you're humiliating me over assumptions. Assumptions? I calmly showed Mark's screenshot, then Adam's confirmation, then Chris, then the fake trap message. Her breathing changed. Fast, shallow. Then tears came. And finally, the line I expected. I was trying to protect you. There it was. The truth. I asked one question, quietly. Then why Mark? Silence. Because Mark wasn't Jason. Mark was kind, stable, normal. So what exactly was the danger? Emily said nothing. That silence said everything. Because this had stopped being protection a long time ago. Then my mother said something worse. Quietly. Almost ashamed. We thought it was for the best. We. That word hit harder than anything. We means discussions. We means choices. We means this wasn't one person. This was a secret people protected. And suddenly, my betrayal got bigger. I looked around the room, at all of them, and realized something. This wasn't just about Emily. It was about silence, permission, people choosing comfort over truth. Then Emily said something that changed everything. You still don't understand what happened with Jason. And suddenly, the ugliest truth was still ahead. The room stayed silent. Then Emily finally said it, quietly, broken, not angry, just tired. After Jason, I stopped trusting your judgment. That landed hard, because for 1 second, I understood. Fear can make people irrational. Love can become controlling. But then I remembered something important. Saving someone once does not give you ownership forever. And that's exactly what happened. I asked, how long? Silence. Then, years. The room physically changed. You could feel it. Years. Not one mistake. Not one emotional decision. Years. Repeated sabotage. Carefully disguised as concern. And suddenly, my heartbreak changed shape. Because losing relationships hurts. But realizing someone stole your choices? That's darker. Then something worse came out. Not everyone was surprised. That crushed me. Some new pieces. Not everything. But enough. Enough to suspect. Enough to stay quiet. Denise cried. Dad looked physically sick. And I realized, betrayal isn't always active. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes people choose comfort over truth. That hurts differently. I looked directly at Emily and said, you saved me once, then punished me for not thanking you forever. Nobody moved, because it was true. That was the whole story. Protection became control. Control became interference. Interference became habit. And somehow, I became the unstable one. Funny how that works. 3 days later, Mark asked to meet. Coffee, daytime, neutral ground, no pressure, no weird expectations. He looked uncomfortable, but kind. Then said, I'm sorry I believed it. I nodded. Honestly, I understood, because Emily knew exactly how to sound believable. Then he said, for what it's worth, none of this felt normal. That mattered. Not because I got the man, but because for the first time, someone saw what happened clearly. I didn't scream, didn't beg, didn't negotiate. I stepped back, quietly. Less access, less information, no dating details, no emotional vulnerability, nothing. People think revenge has to be loud, it doesn't. Sometimes revenge is simply removing access forever. And honestly, peace feels better. 6 months later, I went on another date. Different man, different city. No family knew, no names, no details, nothing. And you know what happened? It went beautifully. No mysterious warnings, no sudden ghosting, no sabotage, just normal, healthy, easy. That's when reality hit. The problem was never me. Months later, my mother called. Quiet voice, different tone. She said, "I should have stopped this years ago." That mattered, because accountability matters. Not excuses, not tears. Accountability. Some relationships survived, some didn't. That's what betrayal does. Here's what I learned. If someone hurts you while calling it love, look carefully, because protection without permission becomes control. And control dressed as care is one of the most dangerous betrayals there is. I lost years believing something was wrong with me. There wasn't. There was just someone rewriting my story behind my back. Not anymore. So now I want to ask you something. If someone in your family secretly destroyed your relationships while claiming it was love, could you forgive them? Comment, forgive or walk away. I read every comment, and if you love emotional betrayal stories with shocking twists, subscribe.